They thought your kindness would always be there, quiet, patient, unconditional. But what they didn't expect was the moment it would disappear. You showed up for them in ways they barely noticed. You listened when they needed it. You understood when no one else did. You gave your time, your energy, your care, without asking for anything in return. And slowly, they got used to it. That's how it starts, not with cruelty, but with comfort. They begin to assume you'll always be there, always forgiving, always giving. Your kindness becomes something predictable, something they no longer value. And this is where the psychological conflict begins, because while they are taking you for granted, something inside you is quietly changing. You start to feel the imbalance. You notice how much you give and how little comes back. But you don't react right away. You stay silent. You observe. Most people never notice this part. Have you ever given so much to someone, only to realize they stopped appreciating it completely? Here's what they don't understand. When kindness is ignored long enough, it doesn't just hurt. It transforms. It begins to pull back. It begins to protect itself. And you didn't realize it at the time, but something inside you had already started to shift, because the moment they take you for granted is often the exact moment they begin losing you. But what happens next is something they never see coming. And this is where everything quietly starts to change. When someone takes your kindness for granted, it doesn't break all at once. It happens slowly, and that's what makes it confusing. You start to question things. Did they really mean that? Am I overthinking this? Was I expecting too much? And before you know it, you're replaying moments in your head, conversations, small reactions, the way they ignored something that mattered to you. You go over it again and again, trying to find where it all changed. When trust shifts like this, it doesn't just hurt your feelings. It changes how you see people. It changes how you see yourself. There's a quiet, emotional shock that comes with it. Not loud, not dramatic, just a deep, unsettling feeling that something isn't right anymore. Most people never notice this stage, because on the outside, everything may look normal. You're still there, still responding, still showing up. But inside, something feels off. Something feels distant. And that's when the mind starts protecting itself. You begin to notice patterns you ignored before. You see the imbalance more clearly, the effort, the silence, the lack of appreciation. And slowly, your feelings start to shift. Not into anger, not into revenge, but into awareness. And that's when something unexpected happens. Because pain doesn't just hurt, it reveals. But what it reveals next is where everything quietly begins to change. That awareness doesn't stay quiet for long. It begins to guide your actions, slowly but clearly. You stop reacting the way you used to. You stop explaining yourself over and over. You start noticing when something feels off, and instead of ignoring it, you respect it. This is where emotional awareness turns into change. You begin setting boundaries, not loud ones, not dramatic ones, just small, firm decisions. You give less where it isn't valued. You step back where you once leaned in, and then you choose silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally understand that not everything needs to be explained. Not everyone is willing to understand. Most people never notice how powerful this stage is, because from the outside, it looks like you're doing less. But in reality, You're growing more. You're protecting your peace. You're choosing yourself. And this is where they get it wrong. They expected anger. They expected drama. They expected you to chase answers, to demand attention, to prove your worth. But something else happened instead. You became calm. You became distant. You became clear. And that quiet shift is what they don't understand. Because when you stop giving your energy the way you used to, it creates a space they didn't expect, a silence they can't control. And when someone loses access to your energy, something unexpected begins to happen. At first, they don't notice the change. They assume you're just busy, distracted, still there, just quieter. But over time, something feels different. Without you reaching out, the silence grows. Without your patience, the space becomes uncomfortable. And without your kindness filling the gaps, they're left alone with their own thoughts. This is where perspective begins to shift. Without you there to reassure them, they start to see things more clearly. The way they responded, the way they ignored you, the way your effort slowly faded, and they did nothing to stop it. Absence has a strange effect on the mind. When something is always available, it feels ordinary, but when it's gone, it becomes valuable. Suddenly, the small things matter. The conversations, the support, the way you made them feel understood. Most people realize this too late, because they confuse consistency with permanence. They believe you'll always be there, no matter how they treat you. And by the time that illusion breaks, the reality hits harder than expected. And that's when regret begins. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet and persistent. A thought that keeps returning. Why didn't I appreciate it when I had it? They may try to reach out, to reconnect, to fix what they didn't think they could lose. But something feels different now. Something they can't control anymore. Because the version of you that once gave so freely isn't the same anymore. But the most surprising part isn't their regret. It's who you become after the pain. And this is where everything comes together. You begin to notice something different about yourself. The pain that once felt heavy doesn't control you anymore. The questions that once kept you awake no longer need answers. Instead, there's a quiet strength. You move differently now. You think differently. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to anyone who couldn't see it before. And for the first time, you understand what self-respect truly feels like. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists in the way you choose peace over chaos, distance over confusion, clarity over emotional noise. This is emotional growth. You stop chasing people who don't choose you. You stop explaining yourself to those who never tried to understand. You realize that your energy is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to it. Most people never reach this point, because it requires letting go, not just of them, but of the version of you that kept hoping they would change. And that's not easy, but once you do, something unexpected happens. You feel free. There's no anger left to carry, no need for closure, no desire to go back, just a calm detachment that protects your peace without effort. And here's the truth most people don't talk about. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It isn't making them regret what they did. It's becoming completely unbothered by their absence, because while they're looking back, trying to understand what they lost, you're already moving forward, stronger than before. You didn't lose them. You found yourself, and that changes everything. So take a moment and reflect. Have you ever grown stronger after someone underestimated you? Have you ever reached a point where you stopped needing their validation to feel whole? If you have, share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone else realize their worth sooner, because sometimes the moment someone takes your kindness for granted is the exact moment you begin becoming someone they can never reach again.